Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. Today, helping me break down the baseball legend Curt Flood will be Mr. Tommy Woods. So if you like the video, please come in and share it. We'll surely appreciate it here at 100 Yards Football. And before I bring Mr. Woods up, when you look at Major League Baseball and you look at the game today, there's really not a lot of African-American players that's playing in this game. But most of all, I'm going to say this. When I thought about doing this video on this young man, I thought about doing this over a year ago. And I just kept putting it off. But when I look at it now, I wish I would have done it earlier on Curt Flood. There's been 3 athletes in my time that really and changed my life from a sports perspective. That's one is Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay out of Louisville, Kentucky. 2 other gentlemen, John Carlos and Tommy Smith in track.
Yes.
And now Curt Flood. I know the impact that he had in baseball. But over the last few days, doing my research on him, it makes you think about where we are today as African Americans playing this great game, the pastime of baseball. But the most thing that I look at Mr. Flood is that he gave up everything to prove a point.
Yes.
And you look at all these players right now, Freddie Freeman,
Yes.
who signed with the LA Dodgers 6 years for $162 million.
Yes, sir.
Dancer Brunson signing with the Chicago Cubs for $177 million. Then Bruce Hopper for $330 million over 13 years, all guaranteed money.
Yes.
And Curt Flood's name is not even mentioned.
Right.
You hear all these sports shows throughout the country, and they talk about the great players that enter Cooperstown, but none of them mention Curt Flood.
Yeah.
And when we finish this video today, I hope everyone understands the impact that this young man had on baseball during a tough time. The 60s, man.
Yeah.
And him coming through the major league, the minor league system, playing in the Sally League in the late 1950s. All the story before he even got there.
Yes.
It'll make you crumble.
Yes.
And then our African-American guys not playing this great game of baseball. But before I turn it over to you, Mr. Woods, when I think about Curt Flood, I think that a child of the 60s.
Yes.
A man that was doing it his way and didn't listen to nobody. A man that was committed.
Yes.
Courage. Intellect. And see, think about this. Curt Flood was a very intelligent guy.
Yes.
He was one of the best painters, not only in the United States, but throughout the world.
Yes.
And I don't have to say what he meant to our people, African Americans. Yes. He was a true pioneer.
Yes, sir.
And he challenged the reserve clause. What do you know about Curt Flood, Mr. Tommy Woods?
Well, just like you stated, when I think about Curt Flood, I think about pioneer, activist, Jackie Robinson, who broke the color barrier. What he had to go through, Curt Flood was going through some of the same things in St. Louis. Curt Flood, he was born Curtis Charles Flood. This guy was an amazing player. He played the position of center field. This guy was a 3-time All-Star. Listen to this. 7 consecutive Gold Glove recipient. He was on 3 pennant-winning teams with the St. Louis Cardinals. He was on 2 World Series championship teams with the St. Louis Cardinals. He was drafted by the Cardinals He played with the Cardinals. He played with the Washington Senators. And, his career, just looking at it, he's a career 293 batter, man. That's raking. That's really hitting the ball. And some of his teammates talked about how athletic he was, covering the alleys, the power alleys. And, looking at, what he went through, he sacrificed himself, not only for the African-American player, but also the entire major leagues. And, looking at his career, and just like what you stated earlier, Hall of Fame statistics, that's he's right in there, looking at his statistics. And I just think that, we need to have more people like Mr. Curt Flood, because this not only changed it not only changed his perspective about his job, but it changed his perspective about life. And he turned down $100,000 contract to pursue something that he was passionate about. He loved the St. Louis Cardinals, and he wanted to stay with their team. But, they decided to trade him, and he did not want to be traded. He refused the trade clause.
I think when you look at Curt Flood, I'm going to start with this, and I don't mean, but he was originally drafted by the Cincinnati Reds.
Yes, sir.
Just to clarify that. But
that's right.
I'm going to start with Curt Flood. I'm going to start with the skill set as a center fielder.
Yes, sir.
Tracking, A+.
Yes.
Catching, A+.
Yes.
Hitting the cutoff man, A+. Run on your toes, A+.
Yes.
Great jump on the ball, A+. Played smart, A+.
Yes.
Stayed focused, A+.
Yes.
Another thing, when I looked at baseball, I know Willie Mays was a great center fielder.
Yes, sir.
But Curt Flood had 1,683 putouts in his career.
The highest
percentage. But then he comes out of Oakland, California. Mm-hmm. He was high school teammates with Frank Robinson and Vita.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So there must be something in the water in Oakland, California. Because check out what's so amazing is that he came out of a neighborhood that produced the great Bill Russell.
Yes, sir.
The Pointer Sisters. Paul Salas.
Yes.
It must have been something in that West Oakland community that brought them together.
Yes.
But let's go back to what Mr. Flood challenged. He challenged a rule, man, back in 1969 where teams had a monopoly. When they drafted you, they can keep you your whole career.
Yes.
And they can trade you when they wanted to.
Yes.
And Curt Flood put 12 years in with the Cardinals.
Yes, he did.
Had built a foundation in the city. And a lot of people don't understand, played in 3 World Series, 1-2 with the Cardinals in the 60s.
Yes.
But this is the thing that people, when you look at Curt Flood and really why he stood up, was that the Cardinals wanted to trade him to the Philadelphia Phillies, who were notorious of being a very, let me put the words in the right saying here, very not liking to African-American players.
Right.
That's the reason he didn't want to go. And then he had built a foundation in St. Louis.
Yes, sir.
But most of all, people don't realize this, is that back then, the owners had control of your country. He was only going to get an 80% raise. But it wasn't even about the money.
That's right.
It was about he paid his time.
Mm-hmm.
And he should have had the ability after 12 years to decide where he wanted to go.
Go and stay.
And what I love most about him, he went to the highest level. But this is the thing that makes me really upset. He realized that he took a chance, and after the Supreme Court shot it down and he went up against Bowie Kuhn, he realized that he was not ever going to have that money and
Right.
realized that he took a chance of being broke and never playing.
Yes.
He only
Yes.
played 13 games after he sued Major League Baseball and challenged
Yes.
the league. But what I want the people to understand is look at Ken Griffey,
Yes.
you look at Tony Gwynn, the late Tony Gwynn, you look at Barry Bonds,
Yes.
you look at all the African American players that's playing now, and you think about, do they really understand what he stood for and what
Yeah.
he put their foundation? And
Yeah.
I'm gonna even throw in there LeBron
Yes,
James,
sir.
Michael Jordan,
Yes.
Floyd Mayweather. Do y'all understand
Yes.
what Curt Flood did?
Major impact.
The child of the 60s. And then one other major thing that I did my research.
Mm-hmm.
We got the College World Series going on tonight.
Mm-hmm.
LSU against Florida. I think it's only one African American player on LSU's team and only one player on Florida's team. Well, where has all the African American players have gone? Where's the black community supporting Little League Baseball? And where was a lot of African American players when the young man, Curt Flood, was really suffering in his later years? I don't mean to put nobody on Front Street, but I got to tell it like it is on 100 Yard Football. And I don't care who feelings I hurt today.
Truth will make you free, brother.
But the thing about Curt Flood is that he left at that time in 1969, $300,000 on the table. He could have finished his contract out, wouldn't play with the Phillies. Think about that, man. Think about that, Mr. Woods.
Yes, sir.
Think about all the players that's making all this money.
And
think about what he left on the table.
And his name's not being mentioned at all.
Dred Scott and Spikes.
Yes.
Dred Scott and Spikes. I guarantee you this. After we finish this video today, my outlook on sports has really changed.
Yes.
If you want to say, and you look at people who put everything on the line, there might not be nobody better than Curt Flood.
Yes, sir.
And Muhammad Ali.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes you have to sacrifice and you have to step out there.
Yes.
And it's not about the money.
That's right.
It's not about the prestige. It's about the unjust.
Yes.
And what's so amazing and sad is that not only did he set the foundation, we even talking about the African American players, but players all over is getting paid now.
Yes. Yes.
And nobody in the United States, I hear all these baseball shows.
Yes.
Major League Baseball, I hear Harold Reynolds.
Yes.
I don't mean to be putting. I don't hear nobody mention Curt Flood's name.
Nobody.
I don't hear nobody at none of these events mention Curt Flood. I'm sorry.
Yes.
We should be having a Curt Flood Foundation or Classic every year. We should be honoring him at the All-Star game every year. And his hero was Jackie Robinson. Yes. That's what he said his foundation. I'm not going to get into the court, what he did against the courts. All I know, he sued Major League Baseball and failed. Mm-hmm. It failed. And the guy gave up everything.
Yes, he did. Sacrificed himself.
And when you look at it, Curt Flood was a very intelligent man.
Yes, sir.
I remember reading about him. They were saying when the Cardinals were on road trips, everybody be playing bingo and cards. Yes. Curt Flood was reading novels.
Reading, yes, sir.
And go look at his painting business. He was one of the best artists in the world. the portrait of Dr. Martin Luther King,
King. Yes.
the portrait of Joe DiMaggio. I don't have to say no more.
Yes.
And then, as you mentioned, his skill set, 7-time Golden Glove winner in center field, 1,683 putouts, a career 300 hitter.
Yes, sir.
But what I remember about Curt Flood, most of all, human dignity, the intelligence, the courage,
yes, sir,
the sacrifice,
yes,
the honor. And I'm going to tell you when I knew Curt Flood was special. And I'm not going to turn this into a political show, but 1962, he took time away from the Cardinals and went down to the state of Mississippi.
Yes.
And supported James Meredith as being the first Black student to step on campus at the University of Ole Miss.
He sure did.
Missed
the entire season.
When y'all look at this picture today, and it breaks my heart that he passed away struggling financially.
Yes.
But make no bones, this guy is one of the guys that changed the face of baseball from a money standpoint.
Yes.
Mr. Woods, your final words about Curt Flood and what can we learn from his experience?
Well, in the African American community, Mr. Turner, we've always had to do more. We have to work harder. We have to run further. We have to speak louder for people to realize, that, they've always, the cliche was that, we're not smart enough to coach. We're not smart enough to be a quarterback. We're not smart enough to be a captain. And, we've always proven the critics wrong. And, God gives us the ability and the talents to do the things that we do. And the talent that he blessed Curt Flood with as an athlete, as a painter, as a activist, because this man put his entire career on the line. And at the end, this man struggled with alcoholism. He struggled with smoking. And, whenever you've been beaten down, and you've tried, you're trying to do what's right and you feel you're doing what's right, it just seems like the system always goes against you. But what he's shown us is that you have to continue to be inspired, because the big picture is it wasn't about him. He didn't make it about himself. He made it about what would be happening that we would have never thought would be happening at this day and time, where our brothers, the African American, the Hispanics, the Asian, as well as the Caucasian, are being paid these high salaries. And it was all because of him. And it talked about even some of his teammates that would not support him. The only people that I remember them talking about supporting Mr. Flood was Jackie Robinson, and I think it was Hack Wilson. But also, after all this happened to him, Mr. Flood received the Jackie Robinson Award later on, and I think this is after he had passed. But, to do what he did in the era that he did it in is amazing. And I'm definitely, myself, Mr. Turner, I'm definitely going to start pushing Curt Flood. This man needs to be in the Hall of Fame. This man needs to have a day in Major League Baseball named after him, just like we do for Jackie Robinson, just like we do for Hispanic Day, just like we do for all these other days. Curt Flood, he needs to be recognized for what impact, the most major impact other than Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier, the impact that he made on free agency, where players could be free agents and go where they want to go. Or if they want to stay, they can stay where they want to stay. And I'm, my heart is just bleeding because of what this man has done. And nobody has given him any recognition.
I'm gonna say this in my end of the day on a tremendous individual and a young man that really changed the impact of baseball.
Yes, sir.
On opening day rosters this year in Major League Baseball, there was only 6.1% of African American born players. That's 58 out of 949 players playing this game.
Wow.
When Curt Flood challenged Major League Baseball in 1969, it was 14.5%.
Mm-hmm.
The year I graduated from the University of Arkansas, it was 17.9%. But in the year 2000, the percentage started dropping to 12.8%.
Yes.
But I'm going to say this. The most important thing, and I hope everybody goes back and research his story, is look what he fought against getting into baseball.
Yes. Yes.
Playing in the leagues in North Carolina, playing in the leagues in Georgia. I'm not even going to paint the picture, but I want everyone to go do their research and see what he fought to get up there.
Yes.
Then coming out of that West Oakland area, it was a whole different ball game.
Yes, sir.
And after doing my research and story on him, my level of respect has went up greatly for Willie McCovey,
Yes.
Hank Aaron,
Yes.
Willie Mays, Bob Gibson, Frank Robinson, Bill White, because, brother, they paved the way.
Yes, sir.
And Curt Flood paved the way. And I hope that after this video today, a lot of people understand the impact that he had.
Yes.
And when you're watching the college baseball World Series tonight, you're watching LSU play Florida, think about Curt Flood.
Yes.
Don't think about nobody else.
Yes.
Think about Curt Flood. Think about the impact he made on free agency. Think about the child of the 60s. Think about the courage. Think about the integrity and the intelligence of this young man. Mr. Woods, your final word today here on Curt Flood.
Well, what we can take away from this is that we have to remember that, our journey in this world, we don't have control of it. We think that we do. But, we have to understand that God has already predestined our journey. And our job is to live up to what God's standard is. And if we live up to God's standard of what he would have us to be and have us to do, America, the world itself would be a greater place to live in. But we still here in 2023 are still dealing with prejudice, racism, and dislike of people and gun violence. And, we have to realize that God is the ultimate. God is in control. And we have to get back to God because a lot of things that are going on are out of our control. And I just, I'm glad that I was able to live to be able to see this happen, as a kid, and then as an avid baseball card collector. Curt Flood is in my collection, but I don't have anything in his early years. But, for those who haven't read his story, there are anywhere 3 to 4 books that have been written. And I've ordered 2 of them because I'm really wanting to really get down deep into researching what this man has meant to not only the African American community, but to Major League Baseball itself. Thank you.
I want to give special thanks to my producer this morning, Jeremiah Long, for making it happen today. Thank you, man.
Yes.
God bless. I wouldn't be where I'm at today. To the team at 100 Yards of Football, my boy from Brooklyn, New York, my business partner who's been with me from day one, Mr. Ronnie Keebler.
Yeah, Ronnie.
To the NFL legend, Florida State Finals, Atlanta Falcons first round pick in 1981 draft, Mr. Bobby Buckner.
Yeah.
To the man with the voice, Mr. Mark Denham. Thank you for all your hard work. To Mr. Logan Landers. Your work on Wednesdays just took us to another level. I couldn't be more blessed. Much love to you.
Yes.
And to the gentleman, as I said, has changed my life the last 2 months out of Ruston, Louisiana, Southern baseball great.
Yes.
One of the only men that's walking around among 300 million people to have a son that was a first round overall NFL draft pick by America's team, the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes.
My final words on Curt Flood. You see all these podcasts out here like Shay Shay. I'm not going to put no names out there. All these basketball podcasts, football podcasts, everybody talking. But one thing I want everybody to know is that you podcast people, especially from a sports standpoint, I hope that you do a podcast on Curt Flood.
Yes.
Because it's only right. Yes. Because he changed the face of not only Major League Baseball, but the National Football League.
Yes.
The NBA.
Yes.
The whole 9 yards. And I'm going to end it with this. Cooperstown, the Hall of Fame, is located on 25th Main Street in Cooperstown, New York. Zip code 13326. If you the Hall of Fame, then Curt Flood should have a place.
He belongs. He belongs.
He should have a place.
Yes.
It's Cooperstown is the venue of the Baseball Hall of Fame. Curt Flood should have a place.
Yes. Yes.
All I can say is this. That young man on the face of the screen there has changed a lot of people's lives. And I'm honored and blessed, along with Mr. Tommy Woods and here at 100 Yards of Football, to do a video on him today.
Yes.
Y'all be blessed here on 100 Yards of Football. Enjoy the week.
Mr. Turner, if I can, right quick.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to thank Mr. Russell Maryland myself. Mr. Maryland is, I've been hanging out with him, and, you know, I really enjoy talking baseball with him. And, you know, he's really made a major impact in our community. A lot of people don't talk about it, but, you know, that's okay, because, you know, God is going to give him his crown for what he's done. But he's trying to get the African-American children back into baseball. That's why, you know, that was one of the reason why I wanted to be a part of the youth, because that's where I come from. I played on the sandlots here in Ruston, in Lincoln Parish. There was no grass on them because we stayed on them, but now the sandlots are full because the children are not getting out. Social media and these electronic phones have come in, and, you know, our kids are video games instead of getting out and playing the game themselves. But we thank Mr. Bear Maryland for all he's doing. Mr. Bear, I love you, man. Thank you for all you've done. You mean so much to me. You may not know that, but I want to let you know that, give you your flowers while you live. You're doing a great job. And I ask you to continue to inspire me and other young African-American males to let's bring back African-Americans into the major leagues. That is our task. That is our assignment. And to the day I die, I promise you that's what I'm going to be doing. Thank you, Mr. Turner. I love you, brother. Never met you before, but I enjoy your podcast, and I thank you for what you're doing. God bless.
As Mr. Woods said, I think he mentioned to say Jim Maryland. He said
Yes.
Russell.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. But I would say this. Thank you for your kind words, Mr. Woods.
Yes, sir.
It's not about Vincent Turner. It's about the people that's right now in my life.
Yes, sir.
And when you have great people around you, you learn a lot. And a lot of things are not important, such as maybe the material things, money, or having a nice home.
Right.
It's about your integrity and heart.
Yes, sir.
I have a saying, if your heart is right, then you're going to be right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm going to say it one more time. If your heart is right, then you're going to be right. Thank you this morning, Mr. Tommy Woods. Thank you, Jeremiah Long, one more time. Thank you.
One love, brother.
To the audience of 100 Yards Football. Y'all be blessed. And to the family of Curt Flood, outstanding individual.
Yes, we
God
salute
bless
you.